And we can now bring you some developing issues now from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. Deputy Minister in your shots there, and Producer Sapong, giving some updates on the situation relating to the news of the demolition of the Bulgarian embassy here in Accra. Here are some updates we can now listening.
The Bulgarian embassy leased the subject property from somebody who is no longer a living person. They leased it from one called Theophilus Kofi Leighton on the 1st of February 1979. Like I said, Mr. Leighton is dead now. Which lease was extended from 1983 for 50 years, for which an amount of 1 million cedis was paid by the Bulgarian mission or embassy to the late Theophilus Kofi Leighton. And also they had the option to renew that lease for another 50 years. The current lease that the Bulgarians have on that land is supposed to expire in 2033. And it is upon the demise of the landlord, or the death of the landlord, that is Mr. Theophilus Kofi Leighton, the administrator of his estate attempted to forcibly repossess the property over an alleged non-payment of rent arrears by the Bulgarian embassy, notwithstanding that the latter has made full payment for the lease to the late Mr. Leighton. So that is where the trouble started. When the administrator of Mr. Leighton's estate attempted to use the back door to get access to the land, which Mr. Leighton has already sold to the embassy, and the embassy has paid in full. Now, mindful of its obligations under the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations of 1961, concerning host countries' obligation to the protection of the premises of diplomatic missions, the ministry summoned the party to a meeting for an amicable settlement of the matter. So at no point has the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, representing the government of Ghana, neglected its responsibility of protecting the property of the Bulgarians. Now, there wasn't that much agreement when the ministry attempted to broker something. So, dissatisfied with the conciliatory approach of the ministry at resolving the issue, the administrator of the estate of the late Mr. Leighton went to the High Court with a writ for declaration of title to the property housing the Bulgarian embassy. So this administrator, he was very determined to take possession of the property from the Bulgarians. And his basis was that payment of accumulated rent and an order for ejection and recovery of possession of the property. That is the basis what the administrator took the matter to court. Now, part of the reliefs were granted by the High Court. However, upon appeal, the Court of Appeal reversed the High Court's decision. So, the administrator went to the High Court. He got some of the things that he was looking for. But then there was an appeal. And when they went to appeal, everything was reversed back to ground zero. The case traveled all the way to the Supreme Court. In its judgment, the Supreme Court reaffirmed the holdings of the appeal court. And that was dated on the 21st of July 2011, which overturned the decision of the High Court and affirmed the right of the Bulgarian embassy in the leased property. So, the above judgment of the Supreme Court notwithstanding, the successor of the late Mr. Lacey sold the leased property to a private developer who later encroached on it. I hope we are getting the drift. This administrator is a trouble man. He is probably the source of all this wahala. Still committed to its obligations under public international law, the ministry, upon being informed of the encroachment of the Bulgarian embassy, invited the parties and their lawyers to a series of meetings in January this year, which were aimed at finding a peaceful solution to the dispute. At those meetings, the ministry referred the trespasser to the ruling of the Supreme Court, which reaffirmed the right of the embassy in the unexpired residue of its lease. The parties were also encouraged to reach a mutually agreed settlement on the reimbursement of the amount of residue of lease due to the Bulgarian mission. So at this mission, we've done our possible best. I do recall I have sat in meetings of these parties on about 4 or 5 occasions. We are still not making any headway because the trespasser appears to have even doubled the rate of redevelopment on the land. And since the beginning of this year, when we got back to him and brought the two parties together, he is even working day and night. Previously, he wasn't doing day and night, but since somewhere January or so, he's been working day and night. We have duly informed the Attorney General's office. We are in talks with the Attorney General's office to try and find the way forward. We've also been in touch with the Lands Commission. I've had meetings with the chairman of the Lands Commission and the executive secretary on these matters. Now, there are documents confirming and proving that as currently existing, the land belongs to the Bulgarians, even though their sublease on that land has got about, 10 years? Yes, about 10 or 11 years. So, technically speaking, the land belongs to the Bulgarians. So if anybody goes in there, that person is a trespasser. That is how I see this person who has encroached on it. At a point, the ministry managed to get the land unencumbered, but the unfortunate thing is it looks like our friends, the Bulgarians, were not able to police it. So the trespasser managed to get back onto the land. And that is where we are as of today. But the ministry hasn't slept, and the ministry has not reneged on its obligations to the Bulgarians. It's been something that has been on the table day in, day out. In the last 3 weeks or so, I met with the Bulgarian ambassador. He came all the way from Abuja. We had a meeting, and he wanted me to facilitate a meeting with the trespasser. I got to the trespasser on about 3 occasions. And every time I asked him, the ambassador wants us to have a meeting, he would say, oh, my lawyer is not available. When he's available, I'll get back to you. I wait 3 or 4 days, I go back to him, oh, my lawyer is not available, he's gone here. So he's playing some kind of some games. And what I'm seeing from the game that he's playing, that he's just basically buying time to enable him accelerate the redevelopment work that he's doing on the land. So, one, government has got no hand in whatever the developer is doing. In fact, I got involved in this particular Bulgaria mission land business on the express instructions of the president. It came to his attention when the Bulgarian ambassador came to present his letters. And then the man raised it, the ambassador raised it there. The president asked me. And then after, the president called me and gave me instructions, go and sort it. It was at that point that the president even mentioned the name of the trespasser to me. That is how I got to know who the trespasser was. And he says to me, go and sort it. And since then, we've been on it. Director Councillor, CPO, Director Legal, we've had a series of meetings with the parties involved, trying to get this matter resolved amicably. We have at, I think, 2 or 3 stages even gone to the police to see if the police will be able to come in to try and help us throw out this developer. But it has not been that successful as expected. So we have not been sleeping. We have been on the ball, and we are doing whatever we can. Today, about 12:30, I went to the site with the Deputy Minister for Lands. Yesterday, Land Commission went there, and they put a stop work notice. Right? They put a stop work notice on the walls. Today, when we got there, the workers were still on site. The stop work notice have been ripped off. We had to force our way onto the grounds. Yes, we took off the roofing sheets which they've used in making like a wall around it. We took them down and went in. The workers were there on site. We spoke to the supervisor. I called the trespasser a couple of times. He did not pick. And then we told the workers that they had to leave the site. And that with the order that the Land Commission has issued under the new Land Act, those workers there can be arrested. And just before I left my office to come here, the trespasser sent me 2 messages. It looks like he's been told that we've been there and we've issued some instructions, and we've told the workers that if we come to find them working, we will arrest them. And so, ladies and gentlemen of the press, we are on it. I will not be surprised if the opposition also, Honorable Okujoto Ablakwa, immediately from there I went to Parliament. He got wind that I have been there. I could see that he was gathering some press guys to follow him, and they've also gone to the site. So don't be surprised that he retaliates. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we are on this particular matter of the Bulgarian mission. Maybe in the course of questions and answers, some other information that you might want might probably come out. But for now, thank you very much.
Well, so there you have it. Live pictures from the Foreign Affairs Ministry, where Deputy Minister Amprachum Sapon giving updates and confirming that indeed there was an attack on the Bulgarian embassy here in Accra. We'll bring you some more updates as and when we have it, but we also need to bring to your attention this. Russia's invasion of Ukraine is in the 3rd week as well, and the shocks is being felt far beyond the war zone itself. Let's get the latest from Berlin with William Bluecroft, who is the correspondent with our partner, Deutsche Welle, joins us now. We know that the most visible impact seems to be the refugees being actually moving from Ukraine into the EU zones. What's the latest on this? Well, we seem to be having some challenges there. This is The Pulse. When we return, we'll bring you some more updates.